My dad doesn't know that I heard him tell another kid that he wished he was his son. I gave him what he asked for, but now I treat him like a stranger. My dad is really into cars, and so is his dad. My grandpa used to work in a mechanic shop, and my dad learned to work on cars with him. They can talk for hours about different car models, engines, and tell stories about cars they've worked on. I'm not really into cars, though. My dad tried to get me into fixing up cars with him, but it just doesn't click with me. I know the basics. I've learned how to change a tyre, oil and jump-start a battery from my dad. I'm glad he taught me, but I'm just not that interested in cars or working on them for fun. I always thought my dad was okay with me not being a car guy. 5 months ago, we got these new neighbours who moved next door. It's a married couple and their nephew Mason, who is 16. Mason and I go to school together. At first I helped show him around school until he got comfortable and made his own friends. He and I still talk, but we don't hang out. He's like my dad and grandpa. He's really into cars and has a whole list of cars he wants to drive and own. One day he would come over with his aunt and uncle, and a lot of times Mason and his uncle would hang out with my dad in the garage. Sometimes I'd be there too, but usually it's just them. My dad usually works on his project car in the garage every other weekend for a couple of hours. For Father's Day this year, he said he wanted to be able to work on his car all day, which my mum agreed to. His car. He leaves the garage door open. Mason has been coming by when my dad works on it for the past couple of months. And he talks to my dad. And sometimes helps him out with smaller stuff related to the car. I don't really care. My dad does other stuff with me. But on Sunday I went to ask him something. When he was in the garage with Mason, the door from the house to the garage was open. And they were talking. I was waiting by the door for a chance to speak, because I didn't want to interrupt the conversation. My dad was praising Mason for whatever he did, and Mason said he'd done that with his dad. My dad told Mason his dad would be proud of him. Then he said, Mason is the kind of son that he wanted to have. I don't know why, but that really hurt to hear. I never thought that not being into cars was an issue for my dad. I knew he still loved me, but I guess it's not enough. I didn't say anything and just went back to my room. He doesn't know that I know what he said. I've been ignoring him since then. I still answer him when he asks me questions or tells me to do something, but I just don't. I don't want to talk to him anymore. He and my mum have asked me if something is wrong, but I tell them no. I thought they would just let it go, but a few days ago I messed up and told my older sister, 19, what happened because she kept asking. Now she's not talking to my dad either, and she's being a lot meaner to him about it. But I made her promise not to tell anyone the reason, so she's keeping her word. There's a lot of tension in our house right now. My parents keep asking us why we're mad at our dad, but neither of us are answering. I feel like maybe I think I should just let it go and go back to the way things were. I really don't want to though. When my dad is disappointed in who I am I wrong if I don't forgive him? Update 1, I guess my post was put up on TikTok and my inbox was flooded with a bunch of new comments. DMS, there are too many comments to read, but I appreciate everyone telling me that I'm not wrong for not wanting to forgive my dad. I still hurt knowing he said that, regardless of why he said it. I have a lot of questions, but I'll answer 2 important ones. My dad did ask to he wanted to work on his car in peace. But he didn't want to spend Father's Day with us. We had a special breakfast for him. We gave him his gifts in the morning. The incident happened in the late afternoon. My mum usually wants to work on her art projects. Or read one of her books on Mother's Day too. It's not that they don't want to spend the day with us. They just like to be able to focus on their hobbies, without having to worry about household or family duties for a few hours. It's normal in my family for my mum and my dad sometimes gives each other a break or a day off. Another thing is that my dad didn't invite Mason to work on the car with him. He did tell Mason a while back that if the garage door is open, then Mason is free to walk in and chat. That's what Mason usually does. He doesn't talk to him, except when Mason comes over by himself or with his aunt and uncle. I don't think my dad even has Mason's number. They're not really close, they just both like cars. I know most people told me to tell my mom or my dad, or both, about what I heard. I was really hoping the tension would just go away and be forgotten. I know it's a bit naive and not realistic, but I really didn't want to have that awkward conversation, so I just kept quiet. Things got really bad today. My sister and I were still mostly ignoring our dad. My mum kept asking us a bunch of questions and guessing reasons why we were mad. I thought she'd given up, but earlier today she said we were going to have a family game night, which we never really do. I really didn't feel like doing that, but I was going to sit there and just deal with it. However, my sister told my mum we wouldn't be joining if Dad was there. My mum asked why, but my sister just said he knows what he did. So my mum went to talk to our dad. And like an hour later, she made us all sit down in the living room to talk. My dad was mad now. He told us that we needed to say whatever was on our minds because now our mum was asking if we caught him cheating on her or something. She was running out of theories for why we were mad. To be fair, she guessed it right on the second day, asking if he had said something to make me mad or upset, but I lied and said no. At the time, she said she knew it had something to do with me because I was mad at him first. So I finally told her what I overheard my dad say. My mom was shocked, and my dad immediately denied it, which was really disappointing because if he thought it he could at least have the courage to admit it. But he didn't. He kept saying he didn't say that. I told him I know what I heard. He tried to lie and say that what he said was that Mason's dad would be proud of him. And that if Mason was his son, he said he was proud of the kind of person I was. That wasn't what he said. My sister got mad and told him to stop gaslighting me. They argued for a couple of minutes until my mom stopped them. My mom asked me if I was sure of what I heard. I said yes. I told her exactly what he said. He said to Mason, "Your dad would be proud of you. I would be too. You're exactly the kind of son I wanted to have." I know that because I keep hearing my dad's voice saying it over and over in my head. I've been hearing it whenever I look at him since that day. My mum turned to my dad and started yelling at him for saying that. My dad wasn't trying to put me down or say I was a disappointment to him. He said he was sorry and tried to hug me, but I was honestly mad that he denied it at first, so I didn't let him. My mum didn't accept his reasoning either. She said that Mason, his aunt and uncle aren't invited, and that we're just going to be neighbours from now on. I feel bad because they didn't do anything wrong. But my mom kept going and telling my dad that he needs to stop spending so much time on his car and start paying more attention to his family. He really doesn't spend a lot of time on it, maybe like 2 days out of the month for 3 to 4 hours. I think she was just really mad at him, which is what I was worried about. So my dad shouted that he'll just get rid of the car. Then, since everyone suddenly has a he left for my uncle's house after that, and I don't think he's coming back tonight. I feel really bad. I should have just let it go. I really want to, but I can't. If he hadn't tried to lie and had just said sorry, maybe I would have accepted his apology and this would be done. I'm not even really mad anymore. I just feel like a failure. I wish I could have just been more into cars. Then this whole thing would have never happened. Sorry it's not a happy update, but a lot of people were asking for one. I hope he comes back home soon.